Welcome to Postpartum Unfiltered.
The podcast where we get real about what happens during the postpartum period.
I am Jillian,
And I'm Sarah.
and we are two doctor moms who are not prepared for what postpartum would bring.
By sharing your stories, we hope to spread awareness and allow other families to be more prepared for the time after birth.
Hello, and welcome to Postpartum Unfiltered. Today, we're here with Tori. Tori, take a minute, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name's Tori. I had the pleasure of going to college with Jillian, so I know her pretty well. She was a large part of the first child I had because I had her while I was still in college. So that happened. Um, I ended up marrying that guy. We had a second child. Unfortunately, now we're divorced, and so I'm just kind of navigating this thing we call single parenthood, and just trying to do that as best as I can. I'm in the medical field. Um, I work in nuclear medicine. I'm the director of nuclear cardiology. Um, and so I have a very busy career, as you can imagine.
Yeah, nobody knows what that
Working.
means, but we know it means you got one of those big brains and you help people.
Science. I work in science.
Yeah, I do science.
Um, I also have a couple other gigs going on. I host trivia and I coach soccer. So you could say I stay busy.
Yeah, a little bit. Two kids, 87 careers, no big deal.
There you go.
Master of all.
Yeah.
So Tori, anything you want to talk about as far as your pregnancy or birth story, you think that kind of pertains to your postpartum experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think I had two very different yet similar pregnancies in the sense that my partner, albeit was the same one, he was absent for both of them.
Oh dear.
Oh,
Fool me
no.
once, shame on me.
Yeah.
Yet you did it again.
Oh God. Oh no. I'm
Um,
sorry.
but that's okay. I mean, that's everyone has a different kind of story.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. Um, and here we are. I have kids that are 7 years apart. Um, but I wouldn't change anything that happened or any choices I made for the world. So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
awesome.
we can start off with my first one.
Mm.
So like I had mentioned earlier, I had gotten pregnant with my child when I was still in college. I had like a semester left. So it actually ended up working out great because my winter break was actually ended up being my maternity leave. I ended up taking my exams. Oh yeah, I have a son, sorry, screaming in the background. Don't know if you guys heard that. Part
Hi,
of single momdom.
buddy.
Can't really rally and
Yeah.
chat at the same time. Um, put on YouTube, he's fine.
Yeah.
Um, so it ended up working great. I took my exams a week early. I had a 4 week maternity leave, which as an older adult, I look back like, how did I do that?
Yeah, I was gonna
Yes,
ask
that was the
if it
question I
was
was going to ask.
I was
Yeah.
gonna ask if it was significantly
Yeah.
different having one a lot younger and then
A
seven
lot
years
younger.
later. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. But your body bounces back a lot quicker at that age. So physically, I was okay. Mentally as a single parent, you're always going to have some struggles. And I had a really great support system. I always laugh about the fact that I was never a sorority girl, and I feel like the reason that I joined a sorority ended up being serendipitous because after I had my child, I still had to do clinicals that last semester. And I remember having like a sign up sheet, and we would bring it to the sorority meetings. And I'd be like, all right, who's gonna trade off at this kid with this kid at the square at this time? Like I have class then, and so I'll take her from 1 to 3 p.m. And I have them to thank for me being able to graduate, honestly. Um, and being able to start my career and how I support my kids today. So it ended up just working out as great as a crummy situation could turn out.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's great because we often in these stories kind of hear about the lack of a village and how it really does take a village to get through it. And unfortunately you didn't have a partner who was there and involved in helping, but you had this great community of friends that allowed you to, still have time with your daughter, but still build that career so that you could be that person you wanted to be for them and take care of them.
Exactly, 100%. I mean, I'm one of the lucky ones. People always tell me like, how'd you do it? And I'm like, everything just like fell into place. I mean, like I was able to still go to school throughout my whole pregnancy. I never got sick. I actually had like way more energy when I was pregnant than I've ever
Wow.
had.
That's awesome.
How
Um,
dare you?
how dare I?
Yeah.
But again, we're talking about when I was like 21. So
Yeah.
you cut out the drinking and then boom, all of a sudden energy. What?
Yeah. So then
Um,
how was your experience postpartum emotionally the
well,
first time?
I think that like I said, I was younger. I didn't really have any complications whatsoever with that pregnancy. It was very smooth. I think more of my emotions weren't so much centered around the hormones and everything that was going on with my body physically after the birth, but more so mentally,
Mhm.
with the situation with her father. I
Hmm.
think that is what actually took the biggest toll on me. And I'm lucky in that aspect because, I mean, can you imagine doubling down?
Yeah.
That would have been so much worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was really difficult at that, I feel like that age and time, but yeah, it was 14 years ago. I had to really advocate for myself as a parent, as a single parent, and still going to school.
Hmm.
I remember like I breastfed my daughter until she was 14 months old. And when you're in the medical career, these clinicals are competitive. You have
Oh
to
yeah.
stand out. You have to, be the best provider to your patients. You're more likely to get a job that way. So fitting breastfeeding in that was so hard
Yeah. I just
because
saw
it's
on
like,
your social media what last week you posted the memory crouched
oh yeah,
behind a wall trying to pump in the middle of
yeah,
class for some
yeah.
semi-privacy.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I'll never forget that. When you first have a child, as both of you know, they're pretty much just like a potato in a bed. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
when they wake up,
Ada.
you feed them, you change them. Okay,
Oh, we got a
I'm in the middle
baby.
of something, but I'll get right back to you, buddy. Sorry about that.
You're good.
That's okay.
The
We totally
nerve.
understand.
Um, So I used to take her to as many classes as I could when I couldn't get a sitter. But I'll never forget there was one professor that walked by the classroom and saw the baby and was like, "Oh no, that can't happen." And that's when, my friend group, my village, as you said, Jill, really like kicked it into gear and really helped me out. But when that's the case, you have these 3 hour long classes. You got to pump.
Hmm.
Any
Right.
woman that's breastfed, especially that early when knows that you'd have to do it a lot more frequently. So I'm in the middle of a 3 hour lecture and I'm like, okay, what's more distracting, a sleeping baby or the sound of cha-chong, cha-chong, cha-chong like that, Because back then we did not have discrete breast pumps, okay? They have
No.
come leaps and bounds since then.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a fond memory. As embarrassing it was, you kind of learn to lose all of that like embarrassment really when you become
Yeah.
a mother.
I feel like that's one, and like it sucks that you had that situation and kind of were forced to do it and felt embarrassed because I feel like it's one of those things that we should really turn around on the people that feel uncomfortable. Like I'm just trying to feed my child, and if
Right.
you want
Right.
to be uncomfortable about that, that's on you, but
Right.
don't make me
Right.
feel uncomfortable about that, because I'm doing everything that I can and I don't have a partner and I'm keeping this baby alive. So can I get like
Exactly.
10 extra credit points or what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Gosh, that's amazing. That's amazing that you could do all that. That's amazing.
And so how
And
long
and
did
it's
it,
funny because people give me credit all the time and I'm like, I feel like I still didn't do enough,
right?
I
And
think that's
Yeah,
a
like
I
mom
people are
think,
like, how
thing.
did
I
you
think
do
that's a
that?
mom thing.
And it is. It's like, how did you do that? And I'm like, because I had to. I had
right.
no other choice. You
It's like
gotta
survival.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like I don't deserve any credit because I just did what I had to do to get her alive. and get me in a position where I could still provide for her. So, I think about it like, and I look back and I'm like, man, I did do that.
Yeah,
But
you
at the
did.
time, I was like, I was doing it.
Yeah. He's like, look at these tears. Don't worry about those. I don't have time for
That's a
that.
great benefit, son.
Yeah. So do you feel like
Yeah,
the stress of having class and feeling like you had to do all these things affected your recovery postpartum or played any part in that?
I gotta be honest with you, Jill. I feel like I just had really good, a really good situation after my daughter.
That's amazing.
I was just in a great place. I was proud. You have a beautiful baby girl that you're like, oh, people are gonna talk about you. They're gonna say these things. She's not married, blah, blah, blah. I was like, but I just graduated with a degree in nuclear medicine. So
Yeah.
look at you,
Yeah.
Karen. You
Kick
know,
Yeah.
rocks, Karen.
Yeah. What have you done lately?
and I feel like my accomplishments really kept me going, even though I was just, sad sometimes. But like I
Mhm.
mentioned, it was more so because of my relationship with her father,
Yeah.
more so than it had anything to do with anything physically that was going on with my body.
Yeah.
Um, Now my son, that is where you age and your body takes longer to recover. And I think that well, also that was a much more difficult pregnancy and relationship situationship, if you will,
Oh,
I will.
with
I
the
will.
same
Thank you.
guy. So that one was a little bit harder, and I think that's where my postpartum really kicked in. Um, and also when I developed a condition called Hashimoto's disease
Hmm.
after my second child, and that has really been like a long-term struggle. That is like what affects me still day to day to day.
Okay.
So my body was great and rebounded at 21, and then at 31, not so much.
So can you explain Hashimoto's a little bit for listeners that don't know and kind of your
Yeah,
journey
sure.
to getting the diagnosis and
Yeah,
how long that took?
yeah, yeah. So, every mom after they have a child feels tired. They feel tired. Your hair falls out
right.
sometimes when you're breastfeeding. Um, but my symptoms after my son were just like a little bit more exasperated. Like I was like, man, I'm losing a lot of hair. And like, man, I'm really tired. Like
Hmm.
I know I'm taking care of now a 7-year-old and a newborn baby, but like I am so tired.
Yeah.
And I would get like a temperature regulation issues, which I just attributed to breastfeeding. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, well, I'm burning like 2,000 calories a day. Like,
Right.
I
Yeah.
guess I'm gonna sweat. I don't know. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
and you
exactly.
get your you get your, regular blood checks afterwards. Oh, like maybe I have something wrong with my thyroid. Okay.
Mm,
So they check your thyroid levels. Oh, everything's normal. Okay. Then I didn't actually get diagnosed until I felt a nodule, just like a little bump on my neck. And my physician was like, maybe we should do an ultrasound. And so they did an ultrasound of my thyroid and they were like, holy cannoli, you have something called Hashimoto's disease. And so essentially what Hashimoto's disease is you get just like, they call it like popcorn thyroid. So essentially, what that means is you have little parts of your thyroid that are like underactive, and then all of a sudden it pops and it's overactive, and then it goes away. And so it's just constantly underactive or overactive, and you never know what you're going to get that day. So you have there's really no way to medicate it. You can adjust your diet. You can go on Synthroid, but sometimes you're overdosing yourself because if you're taking Synthroid and your thyroid is overworking, then that's just an added boost. And then you get hyperthyroid symptoms. So you're constantly in this like, you're never feeling the way that normal people are supposed to feel.
Mm.
And unfortunately, you get used to that after a while. And then some days I have like really bad days where I just come home and I'm like so tired and I'm like, I just need to fall asleep and I'll go to bed at like 7.
Mhm.
And then other times I'm like, you know, I just I'm sweating all day. I'm trying to see these patients. I'm taking off my lab coat and putting my lab coat back on. Like I just
Mhm.
can't I can't get into a place where I have like just normalness.
Mm,
And the option is you can what they do a radioactive iodine treatment and you just ablate it. So you just like basically kill your thyroid. So it's not active at all. And then you can stay on Synthroid the rest of your life. But insurance doesn't cover that, and it's a very expensive treatment. So because it's not medically necessary, which don't get me started on healthcare in America.
oh, insurance. I
Yeah,
love insurance.
we're gonna have to table that one, ladies.
That'll be a different
So we'll table
episode
that.
Yeah.
on medical necessities according to insurance.
Yeah.
But it's actually so many women in America have undiagnosed thyroid disease.
Mhm.
And because your levels are normal when you get blood tested, everybody's like, okay, it's in your head. And you get made to think like, oh my gosh, these symptoms are in my head.
Mm,
Um, but until you actually get like an antibody test, which you're supposed to have like close to none, um, that is actually what can diagnose your Hashimoto's.
Right.
And I think it's like, ugh, it's a super high percentage. I don't want to be documented on quoting a wrong percent, but a lot of women
Mhm.
um, they develop this disease postpartum, and it goes undiagnosed because you just attribute all these symptoms to just being an exhausted mother.
Right.
right.
Yes,
Yeah.
sweetheart. Okay, I won't. I won't. I'm in the middle of a meeting, sweetie. I'm so sorry. I love you. And so it's unfortunate because, it was kind of like partners that I've had. I've been like, oh, I'm so tired. Like, I don't want to do this. And I'd be like, oh, you're always tired. And you're like, I know, I'm sorry. And it
Mhm.
affects
I
your
also don't want to
relationships
be
with
tired.
people.
Like, you
Mhm.
know what I mean? Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Well, like other symptoms too. I mean, like there's a whole long list of symptoms.
Right.
Yeah.
But like you find yourself like, why am I like this? Or like, why am I depressed? Depression is a big one. Like, why am I
Mhm.
depressed? Oh, it's because my thyroid is just like I have Hashimoto's. It's a symptom of Hashimoto's. Um, because Jill knows me, I'm a very positive person. I've always been very
Mhm.
positive. So like when I'm down, I'm like, this has to be chemical. Like this
Yeah.
has to be
Right.
chemical. There's no other explanation, but you think you're going crazy. And then, I got this antibody test to confirm after my ultrasound, and it was like, oh yeah, they're like 1700, and it's supposed to be zeros. It's like,
Oh,
so
whoa.
You're like, I knew it.
The doctor's like, oh,
I'm
I
not
missed this
crazy.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's not the
And it's just
hysteria.
goes, what's unfortunate is it's just like so underdiagnosed because a lot of physicians don't really understand a lot of endocrinology. They just, they kind of, no offense to the physicians in this room, um,
Don't
a
get me
lot of
started on
their,
people not being able to read thyroid panels.
right?
That's another episode.
It's another episode. So they just kind of stop at like T3, T4, and they're like, okay, it's normal. TSH, you're good. Like, no, no, it actually, a little bit more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And so how long did you deal with these symptoms before you got diagnosed and then treatment?
I mean, I think it was probably like a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
And
long time.
so how long, so I'm assuming in that year you never really felt like yourself that first year postpartum.
Yeah, I mean, and in my mind, I'm attributing all this to just being a single mom with now 2 kids,
Mhm.
and just exhaustion is inevitable. I had a very demanding career. I was working, getting up at like 4 in the morning to work on schedules and stuff like that. And having to deal with things, having physicians call me up until like 9 p.m. at night. And on
Mhm.
top of all that, trying to coach my daughter's soccer team, figure out how to do that with a newborn. It was funny. This is just a sidebar that I'm going into, but like I've
Mhm.
coached my daughter's soccer team ever since I was pregnant. I remember like my car was blocked in one day. So I was like, we gotta get there. I gotta coach this game. So I like hop on a bicycle at like 8 months pregnant. And I'm like riding through the neighborhood trying to get to the field. I was like, I made
Mhm.
it. But like
Yeah.
you have to do what you do, right? But
Yeah.
like these practices, I would just strap him on the bajorn and like run around coaching soccer with this baby with me.
Wow.
So,
Is he
and then
really
I'm
into
like,
soccer
okay, well
now?
that's no.
Oh, wow. He's like, I've had enough, mother. Thank you.
Exactly.
That's hilarious.
But I'm like, that's why I'm tired because I'm
Yeah.
doing so much. But
Yeah.
it's like, couldn't lose any weight. I'm so active and
Hmm.
you just can't lose weight. You're like at a dead stop. I mean, the only time since I've had him that I've been successfully able to lose weight was when I tried this insane diet that just like was not sustainable.
Yeah.
I was eating like 800 calories a day
Oh wow.
Lord.
and I ended up losing like 65 pounds and I looked great. But you can't sustain that. And with Hashimoto's, your metabolism just doesn't work.
Yeah.
You could work out. I mean, like, I was running around coaching
Mm.
soccer, doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I was just still just gaining weight and, you know,
Yeah.
still eating not bad, but like having like a couple cheat days a
Yeah.
Yeah.
week,
Yeah. Eating
or,
yeah, normal. Yeah.
Yeah.
like normal
Amazing.
humans.
Yeah. Right.
Like I like a sandwich was a cheat meal for me. And I
Yeah.
was
Wow.
It's like I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
right, right,
Wow.
right. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think you know, that's been a huge part of my postpartum journey, especially after my second child, because it's affected everything in my life. And, you learn to work around things and you kind of accept things, especially in the situationship that I was put in for my
Yeah.
second one.
Yeah.
Um, but you kind of feel helpless, right? Because you're like, you don't know what kind of day you're going to have. And you don't know, you get irritated a lot because you're disappointed in yourself and how your body's behaving. And you take
Mhm.
that out on your kids. So you like
Yeah.
snap at them for no reason.
Yeah.
And it
Right.
just makes you feel like a failure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's tough. And I think that's something we don't really talk about is, like there's a lot of change that happens postpartum and it's rapid change. You have all this time to grow your human when you're pregnant and then overnight you're postpartum and everything is different. Your body's different, your responsibility is different, your emotions are different, your
Right.
hormones are different. And demands are still being placed on your body even though you just had this huge event that your body needs to heal from. And
Right.
like throw in on top of that personal relationship dynamics
Right.
and like how are any of us still here?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
That's so
I
true.
don't know.
That's so true. That's so true. Within minutes, your whole life changes. Within minutes. The day
Yeah.
you're born, it's like everything has changed.
Yeah.
Everything.
And I
You
didn't like
never, yeah. I feel like you never get back to who you are ever. Like I feel like 100%. I don't think I am ever going to be back to 100%.
it's
Body
just
wise, for sure.
it's so different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my youngest is around 2 and I still don't feel normal physically. Like, I think people look at me and think, "Oh, well, like you don't look like you had 2 children." And I'm like, "Well, that's great for me, except parts don't work." Okay? So like
If
I
I
don't know what
laugh
I
to
too
tell you
can't
hard, you'll
about.
find
go.
out.
I can't go to trampoline parks anymore. Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And so do you feel like the second time, not only being older, but now with knowing that you had Hashimoto's during the whole postpartum, do you think that it affected like your physical healing as well, or more your emotional? I mean, I know it's a lot of physical and mental symptoms, so I was just curious.
yeah, I mean, I think kind of all of the above because, I've dealt with a lot of, like, like sound like I'm a victim, but like horrible things have happened to me. And so you're like gonna be sad about them. And
Yeah.
so
Right.
I thought that it was just all situational, like, gosh, I'm really sad about this.
Yeah.
Like I can't believe this happened to me. And
Hmm.
then you realize that it's chemical. Like you're literally not producing the happy hormone because of this disease you have that was caused by your pregnancy,
Yeah.
And it's like it's hard to, I mean, first of all, it's impossible to diagnose until like you finally meet the right people and connect the dots.
Right.
Um, so you just feel so, I don't know. I don't even know how to put it. Just kind of like unheard. You
Not
kind of feel
listening.
like
Yeah.
yourself is going crazy because you're like, why am I so sad about this? Like, just get over it. Like, you knew he was bad news, or like, you put yourself in this position again. This is just get over it.
Mm.
But then like you find yourself like just all of a sudden feel like a drop of the happy hormone,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then you just kind of like you you just fall into almost like a, I don't know, just like it literally is like a dark cloud. And like then your kids will, spill something and then you'll just be like, nothing is
Yeah.
right. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're trying to deal
and I
That's
with
the
think,
so
thread.
much, right? It's like it just starts like a balloon, it starts inflating and inflating and inflating, and then it's just one thing that just kind of, what do they say, the last straw that breaks the camel's
Yeah.
back.
Breaks the camel's
straw
back.
that breaks
Yeah.
the
Okay, I was
camel's
I was
back.
gonna
Yeah,
say
yeah,
donkey. I was like, I
yeah.
think it's donkey or camel.
No, it can't be donkey.
There's a
One of those
haystack
animals.
somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, that's a lot to have to deal
You know,
with.
and
Not be heard on top of that.
I'm so grateful that you're here sharing this because I think this is a big thing that a lot of women have experienced and don't really even want to talk about, either not to their partners, not to their friends, maybe not even to themselves. And it's hard. I feel like it's hard even when you know that you've got a good partner there who's able to take some of the lift, right? And like, so when you're burnt out, they can be there and be the calm presence. And you don't have
Share
that,
that
and you've got
load.
all this pressure
Right.
to be the person that's there for them all the time.
100 all the time. At
Yeah.
100 all the time.
And that's how I am to this day. Got to be 100 all the time. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, how can I get this podcast done? Because I have a 5-year-old.
Yeah. I mean, he's on it, so he's famous
Yeah.
now. And that's
Hey.
great.
Well, I gave him one of those really big lollipops, so it's going to take him a long time to finish it. So we got
Score.
like 7 minutes left, I
Right.
think.
She's looking at the lollipop. She's keep checking like how much is left.
Yeah.
5 minutes left. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. How
Right,
many licks
yeah.
does it take? Yep.
Yeah. Right. Let's hope he's not that Al from the Tootsie Roll commercial because he will be done quickly.
It looks like three licks to the center.
Yeah. 1, 2,
And here he comes.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
right.
my God. Hi, buddy.
Hi.
Say hi.
I know. I haven't seen you in so long.
How much is left of this lollipop?
I don't know. You're pretty impressive,
There
kiddo.
we go.
Oh my God, it
Told
is
you it was a
huge.
big one. I told you it was a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Mommy's almost done. Let her finish, please. Thank you. I love you. All right. Okay. Okay.
He's like,
Sorry,
I
you
don't
can
know if
keep
he's
going.
sharing or
Yeah.
not.
I can multitask.
I can do this.
Try
I
to
can
either
fight
kill me
a
or
I
share.
can fight a toddler with a lollipop and talk about postpartum because
No, thank you.
that's single mom power right there.
Yeah,
And
that is.
I
Yeah, that
honestly
is.
like, even my husband and I talk about it too, and we're constantly impressed by you, Tori, even though we don't call you to tell you about how impressed we are. But we talk about how impressed we are, and we just sit down and go, "Oh, I don't know how she does it." And I think it's spot on what you say about like you just have to, so you do it, And I think that's what we're doing as moms all the time, and it's even harder when you know that like it all starts and ends with you.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
support do you have for all that kind of pressure of single motherhood?
Um, I have really good friends. I really do.
That's awesome.
Everybody has, oh God, I hope she doesn't listen to this podcast, a mother that's a little judgmental.
We all have a
won't
little
send-
bit of that.
we won't send
Don't
it to
worry.
her.
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
worry. We
Yeah,
all
yeah,
have
yeah.
a little bit of that.
I don't think she'd be able to figure out what a podcast is anyway.
Bless her.
There's always
Bless her.
one
Love
person
her.
that's judgmental in the background, always.
Yeah.
So I struggle with that a lot.
I struggle about it not.
Okay, I know you struggle, baby. Can you please have a seat? I only 2 more minutes. I promise. I love you. Please go sit. Oh. I think he's hit his cap. So I'll try
Yeah.
to make it quick. But
Yeah.
yeah, you know, it sucks because you always want to make your parents happy.
Of
And I feel
course.
like, you know,
Do you see my face?
it's never good to be the woman that has a child out of wedlock, let alone a divorced mother. But every time I have like a success, oh, I think I lost you guys. Are you still there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Are you? I lost you. Oh, there you are. I feel like, she's good for a while, and then like something will happen. Like she came up the other weekend. Hey, buddy, can you please be quiet? She came over and like gave him a donut for breakfast, and then afterwards was like, he's really hyper. I think you should get him checked for ADHD. And I was like,
You just give him a big
do,
sugar.
do you
One
understand?
plus one equals two, Mom.
Like, you're in healthcare. You should know what sugar does. Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Background?
yeah, buddy, can you please go sit over there? I will give you $1,000.
What?
I'm rich.
But Rich,
The background?
honey, sweetie baby, can you please have a seat and try to have a serious conversation? I'll give you 2 lollipops tomorrow if you have a seat. Bribery is a great form of parenting as a single parent. Um, I find usually they forget about it later.
Smart.
And you get what you need to get done. Yeah, so it was basically just saying like, you know, I feel like as a parent, and I try to put myself in her position, right? Like you just want your children, or child to just be the best they can be, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes she, looks at me like, oh man, so I got a kid who's a single parent. And that's not what you want for your kids, right? You want them to be able to raise their children in like a conventional normal home. That's your dream,
Mhm.
right? Just so they get every chance they can, to just succeed. And I feel like it's a huge burden, um, as a single parent to just kind of live up to that. But also like not fail your kids. Like my son doesn't have, um, a male figure in his life, and that sucks. And so it's like, man, I should be more butch, right?
That's why you're out here coaching soccer.
That's right. That's right. No, but all jokes aside, like, you know what I mean? Today it was really funny. We went to the bathroom at the restaurant, and he came into the women's bathroom, and he's like, but where do I pee? And I was like, what do you
Oh,
mean? And he's like, trying to find the urinals. And I'm like,
yeah.
I don't even
They
know
don't
that
put
you
those in
have
here.
this one. Or like, when we earlier, like he'd be like, I want to go in the boys. And I'd be like, just standing outside, like in terror, because he can't
Mhm.
go in. Make sure he's okay. You don't know what
Yeah.
kind of people are going to be in there.
Right,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah, yeah. I'm always worried about
So, right?
Yeah, I'm
But,
always worried.
as a single mom, you don't have anybody to go in and check them. So you're just like kind of hoping it all goes well.
Well,
So
take
I
a
feel
book
like
out of,
that's
or
one
take a
thing.
page out of Sarah's book and just put an air tag on them.
There you go.
Yeah,
I
tag,
yes,
tag them.
tag. I also pay $30 a month in case they're kidnapped across country lines, Mexico
Yeah.
and Canada. I can
Yeah.
still
Okay.
I
tag
love
them.
that.
Okay.
Okay, you're gonna have to send me a
I
link.
will send you
All
the
right.
link.
Yeah.
I send yeah, and I have an air tag in a shoe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Tag them.
yeah,
Clutch. Love it.
that's just sometimes what
You
you have
know?
to do when you're a little paranoid. But I'm always
Right,
like, the
right.
paranoid survive. So that's just that is my personal quote for myself.
We'll make shirts. The paranoid survive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my mom is
Yeah,
like,
I'm
or they die. I'm like, what, mom? That's no. What? Where do they even come from?
What?
have
All
you
these
still
helpful
taken?
voices. These
I
so helpful
My
have
mom
the
voices
is
in our head.
skills.
encouraging.
You have the skills. Right?
Or they die. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to start making a running list of all of the unhelpful advice / comments we've been given
Right.
from.
Definitely during postpartum was the best comments.
Yeah.
Postpartum
Yeah,
depression. Nobody's ever had that. Oh, I just made it up. I brought it here.
right, right.
I'm a pioneer.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. But I have someone at like a friend of mine, she's a single mom. She has two kids. Her kids are, I think, 10 and 6. And I see her, obviously she works all day. And then if they get sick, she's like, I have to go because she has no one that can take them to their doctor's appointment or no one that can pick them up from school when they're sick, you
Right.
know? And so how do you like handle all of that?
Um, Honestly, it's tough because as somebody who kind of had to run the show for a really long time in my career, um, I find that because of my strong personality, and always, you know, I'm dedicated to my job. I'm so dedicated to my job. It makes me I don't take vacations because I have to save my PTO on days that I can schedule doctor's appointments. I kind of feel awful about myself when I feel jaded sitting there listening to somebody who has a husband who's like, oh yeah, I come home and I have to do all this. I have to take all the kids to the appointments, and I'm like, and then my poor husband has to take him to soccer when he gets off, and I'm like,
There's two of you though.
Right, exactly.
shouldn't this be easier for you? There's
Yeah.
two of you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just so like you sit there and you just kind of get like, man, I'm almost glad I'm not married because your guy sounds worthless. Like you cook dinner,
You
Sorry.
still
you
have
have
them
to
around?
come like
This
like
doorstop over here.
right? Like what? So the one advantage is I get to decide what happens and when it happens.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm about to start a new job actually, in June. And so I know I'm going to start off with like no PTO, but because I'm always like so sh strong-willed about like getting to work and I have that village, I
Yeah.
somehow, knock on wood, have never really been in a terrible situation where I've had to like abandon patients or anything because my kids are sick. Like I've always been able to kind of figure out that medium. And I honestly don't know the secret except somebody's looking out for me,
Yeah. Keep on keeping on,
you know?
huh? Yeah.
Right.
I think it's that sparkling personality and the sunshine that you always bring. And you created this village with friends that really care about you. And I think that's great.
Well, that's really sweet of you to say.
It's
However,
true.
I feel like a lot of it has to do with the fact if you're good at your job and you try 100% all the time, they aren't going to be mad when you have to take a day off to go to the doctor. You know, it's when you can't get it together and get out the door constantly every day, um, before a certain time. Like I've always been an on-time person. I leave my house 30 minutes before I know I have to leave my house because I have to take into account that breakdown delay
Hmm.
that's, got lollipop in my hair and
Yeah.
like I've just always been I don't know, I'm not a late person. Some people are late people. I'm not a late person.
No,
Yeah.
And I
I
mean
agree
even
with that. I'm not either.
so I mean even after it, I don't really want to get into the story unless you want to sit here for about 50 more minutes of when my husband left me, but essentially um it was like a really rough time to do it.
Mhm.
And I was at work the next day because I had to be there for like I have this as medical professionals, I'm sure you guys understand as well, like you make an oath to like be there for your patients and do best by
Of
them.
course.
Mhm.
And so that drives you to actually like be there for them, more so than if you had a desk job. I hate to say that, but like, your people rely on you. They're
Right.
nervous, they're
Right.
scared. Um, and you when you go into healthcare, you make an oath to commit to them to make their lives easier, more pleasant. You smile goes 1,000 ways. You have to put everything that's going on with yourself out the door when you walk into a healthcare setting because it's so unreal how like a smile can really make somebody who's in a terrible position medically, like it can make their day. It can,
Yeah.
and as I'm sure you guys know, the more positive you are, the healthier you are, right? Like,
Right. Right.
um, so, I dedicated myself to that. And I feel like that's driven me to kind of be there for people more so, um, because I've made that commitment, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So when you said you were married at a certain time? Yeah,
Yeah.
when you're married, do you feel like you had support from your partner at that time, or you still felt like you were kind of single mom during that time?
Um, that's a great question, Sarah. So we got married when my daughter was like a year old or so, and he was in the army. So he
Hmm.
wasn't around. He was stationed elsewhere for a while. So I was still kind of semi, solo parenting
Right.
um for a while. And then when he came back home, um then we moved to Fairfax. I live in Fairfax here for this job I got as the director. And he he was kind of like going through a stage where he was like working on his degree, associate's degree through his GI Bill.
Mm-hmm.
And so he wasn't making any money. So I was kind of like the sole provider, and we just had my daughter at the time. And he, I would come home from work, and then he would like go do some BS job after his schooling, like, or go to class or something. I think he like delivered pizzas or something. So he wasn't ever actually there either when my daughter was around. And then when I finally got pregnant with my son and he had told me he graduated, I got him a job as an IT professional.
Oh, wow.
And so he was doing his job 9 to 5, and I was doing my job 9 to 5. So we were just kind of trying to figure that out and navigate that. We joined a softball team. We'd bring my daughter there, and we had a lot of fun for about a year co-parenting. And then I think once I got pregnant and he got his job, um, that's kind of when everything went downhill.
Hmm.
Um, because I think that I don't know. I really don't know how to put it. He is who he is. He's a bad person at the end of the day.
Oh,
We can't be we gotta
you're like,
kind of
I
have to
don't know how
deal
to
with that.
actually say that in a
No, I
nice
think that's a
way.
fair
Um,
He just
characterization.
sucks. I don't
yeah, I
know
mean,
how else to
okay,
say
I'll
that.
I'll just I'll just go forward with the rest of the story. That's cool. So
Because
we're
I
this
remember
far.
seeing something that said there are people that are married, but that doesn't mean because you're married you have an equal partner. There are people that are married and are still single moms. Because
Yeah.
that's kind of what
Yeah.
triggered the question for me. Because, I have people in my life that aren't married, and you see one person just doing everything. It's crazy.
Mhm.
Well, I feel like a lot of the times women bond more to the children than men.
Hmm.
At least that was my experience because, and even still is like, he doesn't show up for visitations. When I had my son, he didn't meet his son until he was like a year old,
What
you
is that?
know? Yeah, he didn't come to either of the births. Like there was just no connection. And I mean, even
Mm.
now, my daughter, she just stopped going to his house because every time she's there, he doesn't try to do anything with her. So she's like, well, why even go there? Like, I have you here. I have my friends here. I have my dog here. Why would I go down there and just sit in my room and do nothing? So I'm like, you know,
Fair.
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 Did
But
you?
also,
No,
what's that?
you can continue, please.
Oh, so yeah, I feel like that was kind of the situation with him. I think the biggest thing that sticks in my head as a parent that was like really big, like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? Is one day, I was pregnant with my son, and my daughter comes in from school, and she had made these like amazing, like, mom and dad bracelets, and she was
Hmm.
all excited to give them to us. And I was home, and she runs up to me and she's like, gives me this bracelet that says mom or I love mom. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. And I like put it on and I like gave her this huge hug and a kiss. And she was all proud. And then he comes home from work. Um, and she's like, Daddy, Daddy, look, I made you this bracelet. And he looks at it and he's like, I'm never gonna wear this, and like throws it aside. And I was like,
Oh, wow.
Ew, sir. Ew.
I know. And that like really was like a point for me where I was like, I guess, he just is never going to bond with these children or love them unconditionally as much as I love them. Like, you know what I mean? It
Mm.
just, I feel like men are just kind of wired differently, at least in my experience. I'm sure anyone who's happily married has had a different experience. But like I said, you have
Yeah.
different kinds of people.
Yeah.
Right.
Did
And
you
I feel
feel
like
the
oh, go ahead.
did you
Go
feel
ahead,
the
Jill.
bond with your children initially, like from the moment they were born?
With my daughter, I didn't actually. With my son, I did. And I mean, I hope she never listens to this, but like, she wasn't planned.
Yeah.
I was in college. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
He was. But also, one thing that really just kind of like stood out to me when I think about it, like now I think and when you have a planned pregnancy, it's going to be completely different. But like when I had this unplanned pregnancy, and I found out she was a girl, I was devastated. I was like, she's going to have such a hard life because women
Oh,
just have it harder,
Mm.
yeah.
and you just hurt for the fact that be because you are who you are, that's going to affect your whole life. And I didn't realize that that's why I was so sad until I like actually like self-reflected about how I've had to navigate my life as a a, a professional in a higher kind of circuit of a career.
Yeah.
You always have to fight. Like the last job I had, I asked for a bonus, and the response was, "Well, you can't make more than him." It's like, I'm sorry, what?
And
I
did
do
you? I'd like a heart.
No.
Oh, so I wasn't
15,000
recording.
more things than him.
Could you say that again, please? Because I just need
Could you
that
speak
on the
closer?
record.
Closer.
Yeah, that's
What?
wild.
Yeah.
The hell?
So it just makes it like made my heart break for a while, I guess, at that point. But then like also it's like I knew the kind of person that my husband was, or my uh, daughter's um father, and that like you know he would be more attached to having a son than he would a daughter. That's kind of like dads want their sons, right? Um, and I feel like that's why he was so detached from her for a while. And it didn't take me until I had my son to realize, oh, no, that wasn't the case. That was he just
Oh,
That wasn't
detached
it.
from all
those.
children.
Oh my. Oh
Yeah.
But yeah,
man.
so like I said, the situationships have not been great.
Yeah.
The Hashimoto's didn't help.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter your journey, whether you're married and you do have a partner that supports everything fully, or whether you're um, having just physical issues with your body after postpartum. I feel like everybody's journey is just so different, but
Yeah.
at the end, it's all the same. We're all having these same feelings. Like, you feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. You have to raise these sons to be better people. You have to raise these daughters to be strong. Like, it's
Right.
just this constant battle that we're all fighting together just to be the best moms we can be.
Yeah.
And, a lot of the times I just feel like it's just so much pressure.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's
Like,
pressure. Big time.
so much pressure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a literal nightmare, right? Because you have this crazy amount of
Right.
responsibility. Like the amount of responsibility I feel is tenfold what I thought I would feel as a parent. And
Yeah.
then
I agree with that.
to make it more complicated, there's no right answer. There's
Yeah, there's
no,
no book.
Right.
I
Yeah,
was
it's
supposed
always
to,
gray.
I was
It's
supposed to do
always
that.
gray. Yeah. I was just talking to
And no
someone
matter
about that
how,
today. It's great. It's
yeah,
just, yeah, it's just talking to
and no
someone about
matter
that
how
today.
good you think you're doing,
Yeah.
there's always something that's going to happen it's going to just knock you down a little
Right.
bit. Like,
Well, and
oh,
even like the
Yeah.
kids are
your
different.
mom
and the kids' situations are different. And so it's just like,
Right.
what worked with one might not work with another, or, and then you get to
Oh,
sit
yeah.
there. The most amazing part is you get to sit there with your thoughts and replay them over and over and over again and wonder, was
Right.
that the best decision? Maybe I
Yeah.
should have done
Right.
that. Maybe I should have done that. And that's in and of itself is exhausting, not on top of all the responsibilities of keeping the house or taking care of the children or recovering physically or dealing with other medical conditions.
Mhm.
Like
I was just
I it's a wonder that we're here.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend today and she's like, I have to do this with this kid. This my one kid needs this type of therapy. And this, I said, don't think it's just you. Every single one of us as mothers are trying to navigate through something that we have never been through, right? Like we feel like even if we're in the medical profession, we're like, oh, we know all these things. And then all of a sudden we get something like, what is this?
And we're all
How do I
pretending like
deal
we
with
have
this?
all our shit together.
Yeah, and
Right.
we don't. Like when things, especially happens to your kids or even yourself. Like I feel like sometimes people in the medical field are the worst patients, right? Like we
Oh, 100% we are.
yeah. I did not go to my 6 week
We
checkup. Like I'm the
we
worst patient there
know
is in the
better,
world.
Sarah. We
Yeah.
know better.
I did not go for my 6 week checkup both times. And my husband was like, "Are you sure you're okay?" I'm like, "I would know if there was something wrong. I don't need someone to check." He's like, I think it's a different profession than yours.
I
I'm
would
fine."
know. I love
Right.
that. Yeah.
But yeah, we're all, like you said, we're all trying to do our best, every single one of us. And even though we think that we're like, oh, that person has it all together, that person definitely doesn't think they have it all together. They are also trying to navigate through something. And there's no right answer.
Yeah. Tori, is there anything else that you would like to discuss about your postpartum journey?
No, I think I appreciate you guys hearing my story, letting me vent.
I love it. I'm here
Oh,
for it.
anytime.
Um, gosh, my hair is so sticky with lollipop right now.
It looks great. It looks great.
Thank you, thank you.
I was
I
watching out for your hair when I saw a lollipop just winging around. I was like,
right.
hair.
I think the biggest thing is to, anyone that listens to your podcast is a single parent, just know that, as long as you're doing your best, you're succeeding.
Yeah. That's all we can do at the end of the day and give ourselves a little grace, and so much easier said than done.
I
Yeah.
say that all the time, actually. I'm like, especially when you're in management, it's like you have to give people grace. Like they're going to make mistakes. And even with patients, like, you give them a strict regimen, right? Like, do this. And then and like,
Don't.
well, if you would have done what I told you to do, then, but
Oh,
like,
girl.
Yeah.
Yes.
just gotta learn to just give people grace, give yourself grace, most importantly. Because you're not always going to be perfect. You're going to have to take a break, even though you're going to feel guilty about it. It's like, oh, so right now, my daughter, she's out of town in St. Louis. It's her first trip flying alone. She's going with her friend to visit her friend's family. So,
Oh.
yeah, I know. Yes, but it's fine. Everything's um, but like, I don't even know where I was going with that. It's just a happy tangent. I'm thinking about how happy she must be right now. But yeah, just give yourself grace. You're always gonna do great. As long as you just try your best and just don't if you feel like something's wrong with your body, something is wrong. You need to talk to somebody. It's normal to be tired, but to be exhausted probably, maybe isn't. Um, so just listen to your body. Um, And I feel like if people just try to give themselves that chance to get to know your body, then you'll know when something's wrong. And so that's and ultimately being what helped me and my journey with my condition now. So helps
Yeah.
me be a better mom for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Tori, I cannot thank you enough for coming on the podcast and sharing your
Yeah.
story. I know it's got a lot of ups and some downs, and we went all around. And I say lollipops for everybody.
Yeah.
There you go. Treat yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you want the GPS tracker link, I got you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
coming.
No, send me the link. Send me the link, Sarah. Send me the link.
Got you.
All right. All right,
Thanks,
ladies. Thank
Tori.
you.
Thank you for listening to Postpartum Unfiltered.
If you enjoyed the show, please like, share, comment, or leave a review.
You can follow us on Instagram at postpartum.unfiltered.
If you feel called to share your postpartum experience, please contact us on Instagram or at drjilliancampbell.com.